Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's comprehensive guide on understanding fast native English speakers. I'm Emma, and I know exactly how frustrating it can feel when you've studied English for years. You know the grammar, you have a good vocabulary, but then you listen to native speakers and it sounds like they're speaking a completely different language. You're not alone in this struggle, and today I'm going to give you the tools and techniques you need to finally crack the code of fast English. Before we dive into the solutions, let's talk about why this happens in the first place. Many English learners feel discouraged because they think there's something wrong with their learning or that they're not smart enough. But here's the truth. The English you learned in textbooks and the English that native speakers use in real life are almost like two different languages. It's not your fault that you're struggling. Think about your own native language for a moment. When you're talking with friends or family, do you speak the way you would write a formal essay? Of course not. You use shortcuts, slang, contractions, and you speak at a natural rhythm that flows. English speakers do exactly the same thing, and this creates a huge gap between classroom English and real-world English. Native speakers don't intentionally try to make things difficult for learners. They're simply speaking the way that feels natural and comfortable to them. They've been doing this since they were children, so these speech patterns are completely automatic. Understanding this removes the mystery and helps you realize that what you're hearing follows predictable patterns that you can learn. Now, let's explore the first major reason why native English sounds so fast, something called connected speech. In textbook English, words are pronounced clearly and separately, like this: "What are you going to do?" But in real speech, words blend together and create new sounds. The same sentence becomes, "What you gonna do?" The individual words what, are, and you merge into whatcha, and going to becomes gonna. This isn't lazy speech or incorrect English. This is how the language naturally works. Connected speech happens in every language, and it's actually more efficient for communication. But when you're not expecting it, it can make fast English sound like gibberish. Once you learn these patterns, though, you'll start hearing them everywhere, and fast English will become much clearer. Let me give you some more examples of connected speech, so you can start recognizing these patterns. Did you eat becomes did ya eat. Want to go becomes wanna go. I don't know becomes I don't know. Should have becomes shoulda. Could have becomes coulda. Would have becomes woulda. These contractions happen automatically in fast speech, and they're used by educated native speakers in both casual and professional settings. Here's another crucial concept. English is a stress-timed language, not a syllable-timed language. What does this mean? In languages like Spanish or French, each syllable gets roughly equal time. But in English, stressed syllables take longer, and unstressed syllables get compressed and rushed. This creates a rhythm that sounds like music, with strong beats and weak beats. Listen to this sentence. The information that you requested is available. The stressed syllables are information, requested, available. Everything else gets squeezed in between. Native speakers might say this as, "The information that you requested's available," dropping sounds and compressing unstressed parts. When you understand this rhythm, fast English starts to make sense. Now, let's talk about the most powerful technique for improving your listening comprehension, micro-listening. This is different from just listening to lots of English content. Micro-listening means taking tiny segments of audio, maybe just 5 to 10 seconds, and listening to them repeatedly until you can hear every single word clearly. This intensive practice is much more effective than passive listening for hours. Here's exactly how to do micro-listening. Choose a video or podcast that's slightly challenging for you. Maybe you understand about 70% of it. Start with just 10 seconds of audio, listen without any subtitles, and try to catch what you can. Don't worry if you miss most of it at first. Then turn on subtitles and listen again. Now you can see what you missed. Finally, turn off the subtitles and listen one more time. You'll be amazed at how much clearer it sounds. Repeat this process with the same 10-second clip 5 to 10 times if necessary. Your goal is to train your ear to recognize the sounds and rhythms of natural English. Once you can hear that segment clearly, move on to the next 10 seconds. This might seem slow, but it's incredibly effective. You're building listening muscles that will serve you in all future conversations. The next technique I want to share is called shadow speaking. This involves listening to native speakers and trying to speak along with them in real time, like you're their shadow. Don't worry about understanding every word. Focus on matching their rhythm, speed, and intonation. This creates a powerful connection between your listening and speaking abilities. Let's practice shadow speaking right now. I'm going to say several sentences, and I want you to repeat them immediately after me, trying to match my rhythm and emotion. Ready? First sentence. I can't believe how quickly time flies when you're having a good time. Your turn. Second sentence. The weather forecast says it's going to rain all weekend, so we might need to change our plans. Your turn. Third sentence. I've been trying to reach you all morning, but your phone keeps going straight to voicemail. Your turn. How did that feel? Don't worry if you couldn't keep up perfectly. That's normal when you're starting. The key is to keep practicing. The more you do shadow speaking, the more natural English rhythm will become for you. Your brain will start to internalize the patterns of fast speech, making comprehension much easier. Another breakthrough technique is understanding syllable reduction in English. Many English words have syllables that get dropped or changed in fast speech. For example, the word comfortable has 4 syllables when you read it. Comfortable. But native speakers usually say it with only 3 syllables. Comfortable. The or sound disappears completely. Let me give you more examples of syllable reduction. Vegetable becomes vegetable. Chocolate becomes chocolat. Different becomes different. Camera becomes camera. Business becomes business. Interesting becomes interesting. This happens with hundreds of common English words, which explains why spoken English sounds so different from written English. Here's a technique that will revolutionize your listening practice. The listening pyramid. Instead of trying to understand everything at once, work in layers. At the foundation level, focus only on catching familiar words and phrases. Don't worry about grammar or complete sentences. At the middle level, try to understand the general topic and main ideas. At the top level, work on details, nuances, and cultural references. Most English learners try to start at the top of the pyramid, which leads to frustration and discouragement. Build your skills from the bottom up, and you'll make steady progress. Let's practice this with a real example. I'm going to tell a story at normal speed, and you can practice different levels of listening. Here's the story. Last Tuesday, I was running late for an important job interview downtown. I jumped in my car, but it wouldn't start. The battery was completely dead. I called a taxi, but they said it would take 45 minutes. I was starting to panic because this was my dream job. Finally, my neighbor offered to drive me, and we raced through traffic. I arrived exactly on time, completely out of breath but ready to give my best performance. And guess what? I got the job. Now let's break this down by pyramid levels. Foundation level, did you catch words like Tuesday, late, interview, car, taxi, neighbor, job? That's excellent progress. Middle level. Someone had transportation problems getting to a job interview, but made it on time. Top level. The person was late for an important interview. Their car battery died. They couldn't get a taxi quickly. A neighbor helped them, and they successfully got the job. Notice how you can understand the essential story, even without catching every single word. This is exactly how native speakers listen too. They don't process every word individually. They understand meaning in chunks and context. Now, let's explore prediction listening, a technique that dramatically improves comprehension. Before you listen to any English content, spend 30 seconds thinking about what vocabulary and topics might appear. If you're watching a cooking video, you'll probably hear words like ingredients, recipe, delicious, season, bake, chop, stir. This mental preparation primes your brain to recognize these words when you hear them. Prediction works because your brain is constantly trying to anticipate what comes next in any conversation. When you give it a head start by thinking about likely vocabulary, recognition becomes much faster and easier. Let's practice this technique. Imagine you're about to watch a video about someone's vacation to Hawaii. What words do you think you might hear? Take a moment to think about it. You might hear words like beach, ocean, sunshine, hotel, airplane, swimming, surfing, tropical, paradise, relaxing, beautiful, expensive, tourists. Now, if you actually watch that video, your brain would be ready to catch those words quickly because you've already activated that vocabulary in your mind. Here's another powerful method called pause and predict. When you're watching English content, pause the video every 20-30 seconds and ask yourself, what do I think will happen next? Or, what will the speaker say next? This keeps your brain actively engaged instead of passively hoping to understand. Active listening is always more effective than passive listening. Let's practice pause and predict right now. I'm going to start telling you about my morning routine, and I'll pause for you to predict what comes next. Every morning, I wake up at 6:30 a.m., and the first thing I do is, what do you think comes next? Maybe check my phone, make coffee, brush my teeth, or take a shower. Let's continue. Check the weather forecast on my phone. Then I go to the kitchen and... what's next? Probably make coffee or breakfast. Make a cup of coffee and read the news while I drink it. After that, What do you predict? Maybe get dressed, take a shower, or eat breakfast. This prediction practice trains your brain to think ahead and stay engaged with the content. The more you practice this, the better you'll become at following fast conversations in real time. Now, I want to address something that holds many learners back: the fear of not understanding every word. Here's a secret. Native speakers don't understand every word either. In noisy restaurants, on bad phone connections, or when someone speaks unclearly, native speakers miss words all the time. But they use context and their knowledge of common patterns to fill in the gaps. Your goal should never be to understand 100% of what you hear. Instead, aim for understanding the main message and gradually work on details. This mindset shift will reduce your anxiety and help you focus on what's actually important for communication. Let me share the image association technique, which helps eliminate the mental translation process. When you hear English, instead of translating to your native language, create immediate mental pictures. If someone says the dog is chasing the cat around the garden, don't think about the English words or translate them. Instead, immediately picture a dog running after a cat in a garden setting. This technique trains your brain to process English meaning directly, which is essential for understanding fast speech. You simply don't have time to translate when someone is speaking quickly. Let's practice this together. I'll say a sentence, and you immediately create a mental picture. Ready? The children are playing soccer in the park while their parents sit on benches reading newspapers. What did you picture? Focus on the scene, not the words. Now let's talk about emotional listening, something that most English courses completely ignore. Native speakers change their speech patterns dramatically based on emotions. When they're excited, they speak faster with higher pitch and more emphasis. When they're tired or sad, they speak slower with lower pitch. When they're angry, they emphasize certain words much more strongly. Understanding these emotional cues helps you follow conversations even when some words are unclear. Let me demonstrate with the same sentence, spoken with different emotions. Excited, I can't believe we're going to Paris tomorrow. Tired, I can't believe we're going to Paris tomorrow. Worried, I can't believe we're going to Paris tomorrow. Angry, I can't believe we're going to Paris tomorrow. Notice how the meaning changes completely based on the emotional delivery. Practice emotional listening by watching movies or TV shows and paying attention to how actors use their voices to convey feelings. This will help you understand not just what people are saying, but how they feel about what they're saying. Let's discuss accent exposure and why it's crucial for your listening development. English is spoken as a native language in many countries: the United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa. And each region has distinct accent patterns. Additionally, English is spoken as a second language by billions of people worldwide, creating even more accent variations. If you only expose yourself to one type of English accent, you'll struggle when you encounter speakers from other regions. The solution is deliberate accent diversification. Spend time listening to American movies, British podcasts, Australian news, Canadian interviews, and content from other English-speaking regions. Your brain will gradually become more flexible and adaptable to different pronunciation patterns. Here's a practical weekly schedule that will systematically improve your listening skills. Monday, micro-listening practice with a 2-minute news clip. Listen to 10-second segments repeatedly until clear. Tuesday, shadow speaking with a podcast episode for 15 minutes. Focus on matching rhythm and intonation. Wednesday, prediction and pause practice with a cooking or travel video. Thursday, emotional listening with a movie scene or TV show episode. Friday, accent exposure day. Listen to content from a different English-speaking country. Weekend, enjoyment listening. Watch something purely for fun without analyzing. The key to success is consistency, not perfection. 15 minutes of focused practice every day is much more effective than 3 hours of study once a week. Your brain needs regular exposure to build and strengthen neural pathways for English comprehension. Now, let's practice a complete listening exercise that combines everything we've learned today. I'm going to tell you a longer story at normal conversational speed. Use all the techniques we've discussed. Focus on main ideas rather than every word. Create mental images, predict what might happen next, and listen for emotional cues. Here's the story. Last month, I decided to try something completely new and signed up for a cooking class. I've always been terrible in the kitchen. I can barely boil water without burning it somehow. But my friend convinced me to join her, and I thought, why not? The first class was a disaster. We were supposed to make pasta from scratch, and mine turned out like rubber bands. The instructor was very patient, though, and showed me where I went wrong. By the third class, I was actually making decent food. Now I cook dinner at home twice a week, and my family is shocked. Sometimes stepping out of your comfort zone leads to the most surprising discoveries about yourself. What did you understand from that story? Don't worry if you miss some details. Focus on the main journey. Someone who was bad at cooking took a class, struggled at first, improved with practice, and now cooks regularly at home. That's the essential message. And understanding that level shows your listening skills are developing well. Let me share some advanced techniques for when you're ready to take your listening to the next level. First is the technique of listening for discourse markers, words and phrases that show how ideas connect. Words like however, therefore, on the other hand, in addition, as a result, signal the relationship between ideas. When you catch these markers, you can follow complex arguments and discussions even if you miss some vocabulary. Another advanced technique is cultural context listening. Native speakers constantly reference shared cultural knowledge, movies, songs, historical events, popular expressions that might not be familiar to learners. Don't get discouraged when you encounter these references. Instead, make note of them and research them later. Gradually building your cultural knowledge will significantly improve your comprehension. Here's something that will accelerate your progress dramatically. Record yourself speaking English and listen back critically. When you can produce natural-sounding English rhythm and intonation, your listening comprehension improves automatically. Speaking and listening skills develop together, so working on one strengthens the other. Try this exercise. Record yourself reading a paragraph from an English news article. Then find a native speaker reading the same text. Many news websites have audio versions. Compare your recording to theirs. Where are the differences? Are you stressing the right syllables? Are you using connected speech? This comparison will show you exactly what to work on. Let's address some common mistakes that actually slow down your listening progress. First mistake: trying to translate everything in your head. This creates a delay that makes fast speech impossible to follow. Practice thinking directly in English, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. Second mistake: getting stuck on unknown words. When you hear a word you don't know, don't stop everything to figure it out. Keep listening and use context to guess the meaning. You can look up new words later, but stopping during listening breaks your flow and concentration. Third mistake: expecting to understand everything immediately. Language learning is gradual, and listening skills take time to develop. Celebrate small victories. Understanding the main idea is a huge accomplishment, even if you miss details. Fourth mistake: only listening to formal, slow English. While clear pronunciation is helpful for beginners, you also need exposure to natural, conversational speech. Mix your practice between both types of content. Now, I want to share what I call the confidence-building ladder. Start with content that's slightly below your level. Maybe you understand 80–90% easily. This builds confidence and lets you focus on natural rhythm patterns. Then move to content at your exact level, about 70% comprehension. This challenges you without overwhelming you. Finally, include some content that's above your level, maybe 50–60% comprehension. This stretches your abilities and exposes you to new vocabulary and expressions. Use this ladder approach consistently. If you always choose content that's too easy, you won't improve. If you always choose content that's too difficult, you'll get frustrated. The right balance keeps you motivated and progressing steadily. Let's do another comprehensive practice session. This time I'm going to describe a typical day in my life, speaking at normal conversational speed. Use everything we've practiced. Listen for main ideas, create mental images, notice emotional changes, and don't worry about every single word. I'm definitely a morning person, so I usually wake up around 6 a.m. feeling pretty energetic. After checking my emails and having coffee, I like to go for a run in the park near my house. There's something magical about the city waking up. You see people walking their dogs, joggers like me, and early commuters heading to work. When I get back, I shower, grab some breakfast, and start my workday. I work from home as a freelance writer, which has pros and cons. The best part is wearing pajamas to work, but the worst part is fighting the temptation to watch Netflix instead of writing. Lunch is usually something quick because I get really focused on projects and forget to eat properly. Evenings are for relaxing, maybe cooking dinner, calling family, or reading a good book. I try to avoid screens for at least an hour before bed because I sleep much better that way. What main ideas did you catch? A morning person who exercises, works from home as a writer, has flexible schedule advantages and challenges, and follows a relaxing evening routine. Even if you missed specific details like freelance or commuters, you understood the overall picture of someone's daily life. This brings us to an important point about realistic expectations. Native speakers have been listening to English for 20, 30, or 40 plus years. They have massive vocabulary, cultural knowledge, and automatic processing skills. You're not competing with that level. You're building toward functional communication skills that will serve you well in real-world situations. Your goal is to understand enough to participate in conversations, follow movies and TV shows, comprehend work meetings, and engage with English content online. This doesn't require perfect comprehension. It requires strategic listening skills and confidence in your ability to understand the essential message. As we wrap up today's session, let me give you one final challenge for the next 2 weeks. Choose one English podcast, YouTube channel, or TV series that genuinely interests you. It should be challenging, but not overwhelming. Aim for about 60 to 70% comprehension initially. Commit to consuming 15 to 20 minutes of this content every single day. Use all the techniques we've discussed: micro-listening for difficult sections, shadow speaking with dialogue, prediction before each episode, emotional listening for tone and mood, and image association for direct comprehension. Keep a simple journal noting which techniques help you most and which areas still challenge you. After 2 weeks of consistent practice, go back and listen to the first episode again. You'll be amazed at how much clearer it sounds. This improvement will prove to you that understanding fast English is absolutely achievable with the right methods and dedicated practice. Remember, every native speaker you understand successfully is a victory worth celebrating. Every time you catch a new phrase or follow a rapid conversation, you're building skills that will serve you for life. Understanding fast English isn't just about language learning. It's about opening doors to deeper cultural understanding, professional opportunities, and meaningful connections with English speakers worldwide. Keep practicing these techniques, be patient with your progress, and trust the process. Your listening skills will improve dramatically over the coming months if you stay consistent with focused practice. You have all the tools you need now. The only thing left is to use them regularly and persistently. Thank you for joining me today for this comprehensive guide to understanding fast native English speakers. I believe in your ability to master these skills, and I'm excited for you to experience the confidence that comes with truly understanding natural English conversations. Keep listening, keep learning, and I'll see you in the next lesson.